And for February, I've picked a theme that I think everybody can relate to, and it's an anatomical one relating to backbends. So each week we'll just have a little bit of an emphasis, I don't want to overdo it, on how to make backbending poses that we do in yoga more enjoyable. And that's a very good idea. So you have hands-on access with a few of these hints to doing backbends more enjoyably. And today, so one of the ways that we can approach backbends is by opening up the thoracic, the chest, and also by doing lateral extensions. And those are the ones we do when we do Trikanasana or just any side bending. So with that said, let's begin. And let's start with just a warm-up. I always assume at the beginning of February that people haven't been doing a lot of yoga necessarily over the holidays, and it's a good idea to start slowly and build on that. So take a lying down position on your mat. I'm going to do that too. All right, and then simply bend your legs, have your feet on the floor close to your buttocks. I don't know if you like to know the Sanskrit names, but this sequence starts with Apanasana. And it's much easier for me to remember them or to translate that to ins and outs. So lift your both feet off the floor, bring your knees towards your chest, and hold at the front of your knees. On an exhalation, bring your knees in. On an inhalation, push your knees out. In is this kind of squeezy movement for the abdominal area, and out, opening up your chest and making space for the breath. And let's just keep going with that. In and out. And in the main, making the breath the emphasis. When you do that squeezing part of the movement, then you can press your shoulder blades too. Let's just do two more. Exhaling, and the abdomen draws back towards the floor. Inhaling, even the corners of the chest are open. Lovely. And then leave your feet on the floor again, just near to your buttocks, and your arms out to the side. Let's warm up through the pelvis by doing a few rotations. So knees in again, hold there at the front of your knees, and circle your knees. Knees go round in a small circle. Keep it small. Or you might advance and make it a bigger movement. But with the small movement, I think you can use your abdominal muscles a little bit more, your core muscles, which is always a good thing. And then circle the other way. Beautiful. And then with your knees close to you, just separate your knees nice and wide. And then circle your knees in. So knees and feet touch as you come in. Feel the thigh bone, the long thigh bone back into the hip socket. And then circle out. All right, and then having warmed up through the hips, feet back on the floor, and arms out to the side. And take a moment to relax and consolidate and feel your face is nice and calm, shoulders are relaxed. And then with your knees and your feet together, drop your knees to the right side. Allow your head to loll over to the left side, if that feels like a nice movement for you. Back to center and to left and head to the right, just a little. And take your own breath rhythm, right side, left side. So even in these little movements that are rotations for your spine, there's a lateral movement too. You can feel that stretch through your ribs, through the outer hip, or at least that's the way I experience it. And then what's it like bringing your knees up to center again if you step your feet out nice and wide, maybe as wide as your mat, and then drop the knees right and left, where there's an internal rotation through the legs to one side at the same time as the opposite leg is externally rotating. So a little more movement for your lower back, hopefully a pleasant one. All right, and then pause in the center again. Let's add one more movement to your rotation. So knees drop to the right. Take your left arm and extend it overhead along the floor and give it a good stretch. In fact, left side fully stretched from your knee to your fingertips. Tuck your chin in towards your left shoulder or your left armpit. And then reverse, bring that left arm back, drop your knees to the left side, right arm overhead. Almost like a one-armed yawn in the morning, a full stretch. And then once more each side. And let yourself be a little freer in the movement and maybe roll a little bit to the right side, lifting the left side, if that feels nice for you. And last one, over to the left, lifting up on the right side a little bit. Good, back to center. Oh, actually, no, stay on the left side. And then we're going to come up to a kneeling position. So rolling over to left and help yourself up. These movements that we're going to do are, what do we call them? Like kneeling salutes. So taking a seat, sitting on your heels. Or if your knees and your thighs are warmed up enough, that might work for you to sit between your heels, a little bit stronger. And if you know that your knees might be a little uncomfortable kneeling, when we come into cat pose and so forth, then add a soft support like a blanket across your mat. All right, and so from here we'll take an inhalation and be kneeling up, reach for the ceiling. Exhale, forward bend like child's pose, buttocks back towards your heels. They don't have to go all the way back in the beginning. Roll forward. Inhale, lead with your breastplate, look out. Exhale, first downward facing dog pose. We're not holding it, we're just moving through it. And then through it back to cat pose. Open up your chest. Exhale, back to child. Inhale, up kneeling and reach up and look up. And exhale, seated once again. And back on your heels, just momentarily. Let's go through the whole cycle again, and we'll do a few of them. In breath and reaching and opening, and out breath, stretching your arms, stretching your shoulders. Inhaling all fours, exhaling feet apart, and then downward facing dog pose. Keep moving, keep breathing. Lead with your chest in cat pose. Humbly folding down, exhaling child's pose. Inhale, come on all the way up and reach up and elongate the whole of your spine. Exhale, sitting back comfortably. Let's go again. 2 more rounds. Full breath in. Complete your exhale, child's pose. Inhale. Feel the corners of your chest opening. Exhale, a little bit of a hamstring stretch. Downward facing dog pose back to kneeling. Exhaling buttocks to heels, towards your heels. Inhale, reach up, open up. Exhale, back to seated. Last one. Make the best of it. Full breath in. Complete breath out. Inhale, opening forward. Exhale, pressing your hips back. Inhale, coming back, retracing our steps. Cat pose, child's pose. Opening up, little back bend, bring your arms back. Exhale, and hands to your legs, completing the cycle. Pause for a moment. Just check a few things. Your face relaxed, your forehead unfurrowed. Beautiful. Let's come up to do some warm-ups for the upper part of our body in preparation, in anticipation of back bends. Come on up to standing. And facing the long end of your mat. In a little while we'll need, in the way of props, just a block and maybe a bolster for later on and a belt. Have a belt handy. All right, take your stance with your feet just a little bit apart and give time to land in your body and especially in your footprints. So feel your feet. And I've been working a lot in my practice with 3 points of your feet. Big toe, little toe, and front of your heel. Just keeping it simple like that. All right, and then interlock your hands. Turn your palms away from you and give your arms and your shoulders a good stretch forward. So rounding your back. Inhale, stretch up. And then moving through, exhale, release your hands, bring your hands all the way behind you. Interlock again. Throw your shoulders back. Inhale. Exhale, release your hands back to the beginning. Interlock your hands. Inhale. Exhale, press your palms forward. Inhale, stretch up. Exhale, out to the side. Bring your hands back behind you. Throw your shoulders back. Inhale. Exhale, release. One more round. Take a breath in. Link your hands. Exhale, press forward. Inhale, reach your palms, center of your palms up towards the ceiling. Exhale, arms back behind you. You might be changing your interlock every time. Take your points of your shoulders back and then release and give your arms, elbows, hands a little shake out. Nice. And then step to your feet out for Trikanasana, for triangle pose. And if you like, we can use the block for this. Not absolutely necessary. But if you are going to use it, then turn your feet to the right side and place the block just on the outside of your right ankle on the high end. Good. And then reach the arms out to the side from your shoulders and extend and open up those corners of your chest. Without thinking of moving just yet, land in your left foot and feel big toe, little toe, and front of your heel. Right foot's turned out 90 degrees and then moving out over your right leg. And if you're using the block, reach for the block, reach out and down and extend the left arm up towards the ceiling. And then recommit to your back foot. Those 3 points. Give it a good extension. And then thinking about the lateral body and opening up for any back bends we'll do. Lengthen the undercarriage, so that's your right side ribs. Lengthen out towards the right side. And feel at the same time you might be able to go down a little bit more into your stretch. Good. Be solid in your back leg, into your left leg. Inhale and come up. And feet to the left. And if you're using the block, you've shifted it. Good, and let's slow everything down, even though we are going pretty slowly. And feel back into your right leg before moving. Big toe, little toe, front of your heel. And then extend out towards the left side. Good. Reaching down, one arm, reaching up, opposite arm. Good, and then give time. So we want to make a triangle shape of the left ribs, the left thigh, left arm. So lengthen out the left ribs a little further, like they're telescoping out to the left. And then your right leg strong, right foot planted, and from your right foot, inhale and come up. Beautiful. Turn your feet forward and drop your arms to the side. Good. A few shoulder rolls. And step back to center. Good. Back in Tadasana with your feet a little bit apart. Shoulders relaxed. You know, when your yoga instructor is saying things like that, they're just reminding themselves oftentimes where their tension is in their body. So now I've given something away. I'm going to move into Warrior Two pose, so step out nice and wide. Let's plan ahead and have that block for your right side. Turn your left foot in a little bit, turn your right foot out 90 degrees, and then place the block. I'm going to have it on the high end next to my right ankle again. Good. And then pause there. You're upright. Extend the arms out to the side. Take a moment and even out the two sides of the chest so they're parallel. Right side, left side, even. And then bend into your right leg. And something that I've learned recently I'd like to share with you, take a deep bend, almost like a ballet plie with that right leg, if your knee is tolerant of that. So bend more than you know that you're supposed to, or you've been trained to, and just feel how that feels, where you transferred the weight. Now pull the right thigh back into its hip, and exaggerate pulling back until it feels like the thigh bone, right thigh bone, sits back into its hip, and the front of the knee is moving towards the thigh. Right knee back towards the thigh. And then open up your chest, look down your right arm. Feel like you're tall through the spinal column. Good. And from here, the block's placed so that you can move on to Parsvakonasana, to the side flank position, and then reach forward and down and place your right hand onto the block. Just leave your left arm straight up towards the ceiling. If your shoulder feels like it hasn't warmed up enough, keep that arm bent. So you've shortened the lever, and just roll the left shoulder back. Then, like you did in Trikanasana, extend your lateral body by bringing, in this case, your left arm overhead, over your left ear, and lengthen the right side of your body over your right thigh. Good. Feel that arm stretch starts at your left ankle. 3 points of your left foot, big toe, little toe, front of the heel. Come on up. Good. Feet facing forward. I hope it's a little cool where you are, like you've got your fans on and so forth, because it's very humid here. Take your block over to the left side. but then it is Aussie summer, isn't it? And then with your arms out wide to the side, we'll go through Warrior Two to get to Parsvakonasana and bend that left leg. Exaggerate the bend so your knee comes over your toes even, and then pull back the knee towards the thigh, towards the hip, and feel the left hip sitting into the hip socket. Unshrug your shoulders, roll your shoulders and your shoulder blades down, and then look over the very straight left arm to the left, at the same time as extending the right arm back. And moving on, and then reaching down for Parsvakonasana, left hand to the block, right arm just simply up towards the ceiling to start with, and then feel into that right shoulder. And then as you're ready and you want to move to the next stage, extend the right arm overhead. Maybe bring your chin in a little bit, so either towards the collarbone or towards your armpit. And then you ease back feel into your right footprint, big toe, little toe, front of the heel. Elongate your undercarriage, I don't know if we can call it that, the left side of your rib cage. And then from there, inhale and come up. And turn your feet forward. And let's take a break in Uttanasana and stepping in. Now, I think this is a good awareness exercise. So you can do this as a way of bringing awareness to a very helpful part of your body when you're forward bending. So place your hands in the stand position here at the inside of your thighs. I'm not quite sure what kind of underwear everybody wears, but for me it's where my pants line is, and towards your groins. There's a little hollow there on the inner thigh. So take a little forward bend, let's say a halfway forward bend, and that hollow there will deepen as you come forward and your back releases. And let your hands come down onto your legs. We only went halfway because we're just going to come out of it now. Anchor your feet, inhale and roll up, and all the way up. And then as an experiment, let's do the opposite and press your groins forward and let your thighs roll out a little bit in that movement. And then try on doing a forward bend from that position. So your groins forward, your thighs rolling out. And pretty much you can tell right away that that creates a handicap for going forward. So come on up. We don't want to do it that way, I don't think. So we want to do it with that freedom that we had the first time. So turn your thighs in, allow the groins to drop back, and then come into your forward bend with your knees soft. So a slight knee bend as you bring your hands down your legs. And now that you've palpated that area and you sort of have the body sense of where you're working from, see if you can, even in your full forward bend, head down, bum up, you can deepen the groins a little bit more. So inner thighs moving back. Lovely. Let your head go. And then start to come out by bringing your knees forward, your hands to your hips, and rolling up to standing. I hope that was helpful. That's a really good adjustment for doing back bends too, as you'll see in a little while. All right, let's just do one more standing pose and step out wide for this one. Prasarita Padottanasana, so wide leg forward fold. And then look at your feet and all your toes pointing straight forward. roll to the outer arches of your feet, lifting the inner arches of your feet, just warming up the ankles a little bit. And then do the opposite, and maybe almost lifting the outer arch of your foot and flattening the inner arch. Then find middle ground where the arches are still able to lift, inner arch and outer arch. Maybe you can feel that kind of as a ripple effect all up through your legs and your thighs. And then let's take that instruction about the groins as you come halfway towards the floor. Oh, and I forgot to mention, have your block in front of you. Sorry if I've jumped ahead. So block in front of you, just off your mat. And then as you've taken your forward bend, feel that inner thigh area, turning the thighs in, bringing the groins back, and rest your hands on the block, which I've placed on the high end. And that's so nice because you can get the chest fully open and actually lean into the block and bring your chest forward and your buttocks forward. Good. Keep the internal rotation of your legs. Keep the arches of your feet. All right, and then let's make a nice lateral movement, a side body movement, placing your right hand onto the top of the block only. Then bring your left hand onto your left hip, turn left, look left, bring the right side of your chest left. Good, and then from there, if it feels like a nice movement for you, extend the left arm. So the left arm up towards the ceiling. If that's too strong in your shoulder at this point, just keep your hand down to your hip, roll your shoulder back. Good. Look down, and then change hands. Left hand supporting, right hand, right hip. Good. Before you take your arm up, get a good turn to the right side. And once you've done that, then explore extending the arm up. Does that feel nice for you at this stage? Or do you still need to keep your hand onto your hip and just work with taking your shoulder back? Good. Let's go one more each side round. Right hand to the block, looking left. And either taking your arm up or keeping your hand onto the hip. Now notice what happened with your right leg. So I'm noticing now I collapsed the arch of my right foot. So in lifting that arch again, extend to the outer right heel. So you're still anchored on that right foot. And then finally, left hand down, replacing the right hand, right hip. Good, turning left, turning right, I should say, and extend the right arm up. Good, so this is a really nice lateral body movement. So not just a rotation through your spine, but opening up the top ribs and lengthening the bottom ribs. Good, and then both hands onto the block. Good, pause there. Open your chest forward like you did in cat pose when you were kneeling. Open up the corners of your chest. Enliven your legs. Feel the arches of your feet again. And then toe, heel, come back to center, shuffle in, bend your knees, inhale, come up. Arms just loose by your side. Good. Are we finally going to get to some back bends? I think so, but we'll start with the bridge. So take up your block and lying on your back. Bridge pose is always a great standalone posture, but also it's a way in to doing any back bends, further back bends, or stronger back bends. Let's take the block and place it between your thighs, just above your knees. And at that point, you can probably step your feet in a little bit closer to each other. Pause for a moment. Relax your face, relax your shoulders, your arms just loose by your side. And then feel what it's like to press against the block, but also to rotate your thighs inwards. So that's a movement that you've been working in the standing poses. And then release from that effort. As you turn your thighs in and move your groins slightly deeper, feel the effect that that has on your lower back. And then release that. And do some little pelvic tilts. So rocking movement on the sacrum, tilting the tailbone up, tilting it down. Good. And now let's move into the little back bend. So feel your 3 points on each foot, big toe, little toe, in front of your heel. Press in, press against the block. On an inhalation, roll your buttocks off the floor, lift your tailbone. If you're tightening around the tailbone, just deepen that internal rotation of your thighs and release around those tailbone muscles. And then exhale, roll back down. Just a little tiny back bend to start with. And coming up again. Maybe if you're going really slowly here, a few breaths. Release any clenching around your buttock crack, and rolling the spine back down. All right, rest there, consolidate. Let's add the arm movement to it, where you'll extend your arms overhead and towards the floor as you lift up your hips. Such a lovely movement. And then anchor your 3 points of each foot. Inhale and come up. Arms come up at the same time as your buttock lift. Reach them back. And then exhale, move your tailbone away from you and come back down, but leave your arms where they are. Or if you brought them forward, bring them back again. In fact, see if you can extend the arms a little bit more, like one of those early morning yawn stretches, really long arms. And then lift your buttocks once more. Buttocks come up, arms are still overhead. And then exhale, bring your arms back down to your side and lower through the whole spinal column until you're down, resting again. Inhale, raise your arms overhead at the same time as you bring your pelvis up. Inhaling. Keep your arms where they are, and exhale, lengthen your torso away from you as you come back down to the ground. Inhale, come up again. These are long breaths if you can manage them. And exhale, now your arms back to your side as your buttocks lower all the way to the ground. All right, one more like that. In breath. Long arms, thighs are rotating away from you, still pressing against the block. Exhale, lower down, just your buttocks, not your arms. Tilt your hips up, come up, and exhale, completing the movement entirely until you're resting the spine and the arms. Take the block away. And pause for a moment. I like this next version of the bridge because it helps me strengthen my toes. So if you bring your feet in as close as you can to your buttocks, or even lift your heels and bring your feet in as close as you can, be on the backs of your toes or the balls of your feet. If it was helpful for you to use your block between your knees, keep it there. Otherwise, without the block, press on the big toe part of your foot, right foot, left foot, and now lift your buttocks away from the floor. Come up. Release any tension around the tailbone. Lift from the outer hips. Elongate your side body and your thighs. And exhale, come back down to the ground, but keep your heels up. If you notice that you're rolling to the little toe side of the foot, recommit to pressing your big toe. Come on up again. Exhale to the ground. And one last one. Right up on the balls of your feet, especially your big toe. And coming down to ground. And we've done a nice warm up there, and we'll proceed to the small back bends lying on your belly side. So flip over. Good. And from lying face down, fold your arms and rest your head onto your hands, your forehead onto your hands, or just the side of your head onto your hands. Relax your shoulders. Separate your legs just a little, so they're close in but just slightly separated. And feel all of the front of your toes onto the floor or the mat. And press them down a little bit until your legs feel like they're supporting you more. They're stronger, firmer. Tailbone's moving away from you. All right, and then picture where your groins are again. So you're in a different plane than when you were standing and doing forward bending. So feel where your groins are on the inner thighs. And then see if you can lift them into the body a little bit. And turn your thighs in as well. Feel the sacrum broaden. That's what I notice for myself. And release around the tailbone again. So your buttocks will be firm but not clenched. And then from here, simply lift your right leg. Anchor your left leg, raise your right leg, but keep it turned in. So the inside of the leg is lifting a little bit more than the outside of the leg. And then lower that leg down. Notice if you've recruited your shoulders, and then see if you can make this a strong leg movement with the help of your glutes, your buttock muscles, and lifting up. Good. And then release down again. And rock a little bit hip to hip. Feel your buttocks nice and loose on the bones. And then come up onto, I call it Sphinx Pose, onto your forearms. So lift your head and your shoulders and balance the weight on your forearms. Your elbows would be right underneath your shoulders. Look at your lovely hands and open the spacing between your fingers nice and wide. We've had a nice summer holiday where we went to the beach and we saw lots of starfish in some rock pools. So look at your hands and make your fingers like starfish. And then turn your head and look towards your right heel. Turn back to center and allow yourself to look towards your left heel. And go back and forth between the two sides, right and left. And you might soon notice it's easier to see on one side than the other if your body's working at all like mine. So I can see my right heel fully, my right leg, but not so much on my left side. What does that mean? I have to figure that out. Good. Just go a couple more times and maybe more quickly so it feels like your hips are rocking side to side. Nice and free there. Good. And then center yourself and come down to lie out on your mat with your arms outstretched and your weight resting on your forehead or your chin. So head down. Take your arms out wider. Just feels like I have a lot more freedom to stretch when my hands are even a little bit wider than my mat. Then duck your chin in towards your chest. Rest on your forehead. And we're going to do a leg lift again, but with alternate arm lifting. So when you lift your right leg, you're going to lift your left arm. So let's do that on an inhalation. Right leg, left arm. Lift your chest. You can lift up a little bit higher, look towards the horizon. Exhale, lower down. In reverse, right arm, left leg. Inhale and come up. And exhale down. 2 more times. Left arm, right leg. Exhale. Right arm, left leg. Exhale. Last round. Maybe you'll lift your ribs a little bit more this time. Maybe not. Good. And then let's go back to resting position and fold your arms in and rest your head onto your hands. Rock a little bit hip to hip again. Loosen all that pelvic area, the lower back. Good. And then take a child's pose break. Bring your hands in, lift your head and your chest, and fold your hips back towards your heels. All right, so we're not quite done here. So lengthen out on your mat again in the prone position. Fold your arms, rest your head onto your folded hands. And then let's do Shalabhasana in a way you did a version of that when you did alternate leg and arm stretch. This time bring your arms by the side of your body, palms down. Rest on your forehead again. Adjust your legs so that you're on the front of your thighs and your thighs are turning in. What does that mean in the prone position? Your inner knees are lifted a little bit more. The inner thighs are lifted a little bit more. And we're going to come up into just a half Shalabhasana, locust pose, with the upper body. So head lifts, chest lifts. When your arms lift, then try on turning your palms up towards the ceiling. Arms internally rotate and open the corners of your top chest. Exhale, lower down again. Inhale, lift up. Press the tops of your toes. Lift your head and your chest. Exhale, lower down, palms down. Just one more of those. And coming up. See how much you can lift the middle chest this time. Arms, palms facing up. Exhale, lower down. And then fold your arms. Rest your head onto your folded hands. Rock a little bit side to side. And the last small back bend that we'll do, I call them small back bends because they're in contrast to Urdhva Dhanurasana and advanced back bends. So we'll do Cobra Pose. Bend your elbows next to your side. Slide your hands back towards the line of your middle chest or underneath your shoulders. Open your hands, starfish hands. Keep your elbows in close to you. And move your elbows back towards your ribs. Inhale, press your hands, lift your chest up. Now you've got those hands to support you, so you might come up a little bit higher than you did before, but keep the internal rotation and lengthen the sides of your body up towards your armpits. Exhale, lower down. We'll do 3 of those. Inhale, come up. Exhale, lower down. Last one. Inhale, come up. Hold it, shoulders back, side body long, internally rotating your legs. Exhale, down to the ground. And keep your hands where they are, and they might help you raise up and come back into child's pose. So head, chest comes up, and folding back. Just really gently because you're moving from back bending to forward bending. If you wouldn't, if you would like to use your block here, you could place the block underneath your forehead and just rest your forehead, relax your brain. Relax your shoulders. All right, and then come on up. Let's do a little strengthening movement for your upper part of your back. And backbending, though it's a theme, is also it depends on a strong movement through your shoulder blades. So that movement where you roll your shoulders back, roll your shoulders forward, that we experience in doing inverted poses like headstand or forearm balance. And while we're not doing those poses today, we can do a preparation that strengthens those upper back muscles in all directions. So place your block at the front of your mat, facing the short end of my mat now, and then open your hands so that you can make a frame of your hands around the block, and bring your elbows in line with your wrists. Palms pressed down. You're in a kneeling position. Move your knees back a little bit. Give yourself more space. And then feel what it feels like to press your elbows, your forearms down, and press your hands forward at the same time. Even that movement connects you with your dorsal thoracic, with your upper back. Then tuck your toes under and balance your weight onto your hands, your forearms, and your elbows, and lift your knees. If this is too strong a movement for you, you could just create a hover and lift your knees a little bit off the floor. Otherwise, come up and lift up through your shoulders and your shoulder blades. Take a break. When your knees are down, you're still in forearm position, but your shoulders relaxed. And we'll go once more at this. Tuck your toes under, lift your buttocks up. Lift your shoulders up as much as you can, and your shoulder blades, and particularly the inside of your shoulder blades. Let your head just dangle, and then come down. And once more, child's pose, knees a little bit apart. Slide the block in if you're using it to rest your forehead on, or just rest your forehead onto your hands. And send the message to your shoulders to relax and let them drop out. And then inhale and come up. And facing the long end of your mat, so you have space to extend out your legs. Extend your legs forward. And we'll take the opportunity to do some rotations and counter poses to the back bends. So a good place to start is with Janu Shirsasana. So keeping your left leg straight, bend your right leg in, and draw your right knee back. And then make a little bit more space here by separating your legs more. So you've got a wide distance between your knees now, wide as you can. Then turn towards your bent leg. By all means, sit up on a blanket if you need a better pelvic tilt. or even on your block if you don't have a blanket there. So turning towards your bent leg, then bring your hands out in front of your knee, your right knee, and start to stretch over that right leg. And be completely free on the left side, and even letting the left buttock come off the floor as you roll the body over the right knee. So you're a little propped up on your hands here, but with the message to stretch the side bodies, especially that left side. You can get a really nice stretch along the left side from your hip to your hand. All right, pull it in. And then feel what it feels like to go in the middle space between the two legs. It's an anatomy lesson in, if you didn't know where your hamstrings were, then you just notice them a lot more as you stretch this way. That left hamstring, stretching gently. So your hands out in front of your right foot there. Lift up your chest a little bit and open up the side body again. All right, and let's go in the last direction here, which is over the straight leg. So as you've turned towards the left leg, turn a little bit more by lifting up those left ribs. Think of bringing the left ribs up and over the outer left thigh. And mindful of the right side still, especially if it's tense. So relax that right thigh. Relax the right hip. And once more, press your hands a little bit, lift up and open the top front chest. And then pull it in. And let's change. Right leg straight, left leg bent. And we're creating space between the two legs. Nice opening there. The legs wide apart. Turn towards your bent leg. And off you go. And as you bow over that left leg, you can turn a little bit more, do the same adjustment that you made earlier. Lift the left ribs up, drag them across towards the left side. Step your hands a little more forward. Without being too precise about it, feel yourself lift off of your right buttock. Maybe that right thigh is turning in slightly. All right, and then let's go middle position and forward. So your chest is in a line with your left foot, but now forward of it as you extend out. Right hamstring gets a wake up, especially when you flex that right foot. Good, pull it in. And then placing your hands on opposite sides of the right leg. And then try this adjustment. Press your right hand into the mat or the floor. Lift up the right ribs. Drag them across to the right side a little further. And then thinking kindly about that left leg, relax the left thigh, relax the left hip. Good. You've done nicely there. And then pull your hands in and extend your legs straight forward. Good. Do a buttock walk. Just shift from right buttock to left buttock. Nice. Okay, and then let's do one more twist here before we do legs up the wall. So bend your right leg in. Place your right foot on the floor near to your right buttock. I notice that it's going to be helpful for me to sit up a little bit higher. So I'm going to do that with my block. You can do it with a bolster or a blanket. And left leg straight, right leg bent. Good. And then you have that instinct to hold the front of your leg because you know that that will help you sit up straight. So as you sit up straight, then open up your chest again. Do those nice back bends so you could reduce any slump in the upper part of the chest. So keeping that chest nice and high, we're going to do a really simple turn to the left side. Bring your right elbow on the inside of your right knee. Turn your palm to face towards the left side like a halt sign, and then cast your left arm behind you and prop up. So because I'm seated high, I'm going to use the tips of my fingers on the floor and then stretch up as much as I can. And then the temptation is to press your elbow against your knee. But if you press your knee against your elbow, I find that you can turn a little bit more easily and maybe even a little bit more. Take that left hand back a little bit forward, but further, and then tilt your chin at least parallel with the floor, a little upwards, and raise your gaze upwards. Good. Let's see how it works. Go to the other side, and then releasing. Hold the front of your knee again. Sit upright. Hold with just your left hand onto the outside of your right knee. Bring your right hand behind you. And keep drawing that knee in towards your chest, and then wrap the left arm around your right knee. Sitting tall again. Can you turn your left side in towards the right thigh a little bit more? And maybe make space for that movement by taking your right hand back a little bit further. Then chin level with the ground or a little lifted. Lift your eyes up. Good. And then let's go to the other side round. Bend the left leg in, extend the right leg. Have a look at your right leg and make a good beginning here. Keep the hamstring stretch, keep your foot flexed. You're on the center of that right heel. And now bring the left elbow to the inside of your left knee. Open your hand, pressing towards the right side, and take that right arm back behind you. Good. My friend Michael always says, sit with a straight, long spine like a ballerina. I don't know if that image works for you. I think just of being open and creating space. And the gaze, when you lift it upwards, that adds that last little bit of stretch to the upper part of your spine. Okay, and then other side. So we're starting just holding the front of the knee, recommitting to an upright posture and spacious, and then turning towards the left side. Bring your left hand behind you and go to the wrap position, elbow around the outside of the knee, or you could lift up the right arm and place the elbow on the outside of the knee, whichever works for you, meaning creates ease, but also a little bit of challenge. Top chest up, collarbones broad. All right, and then let's let go. Extend out the left leg with the right. And then come up to standing. So really good adjustment for having done back bends to do a hamstring stretch. So we've done a little bit of that, but now we'll do it supported at your wall position. And step your feet about 35 centimeters away from the wall when you find your way there. So you're sitting on the wall with your buttocks. And then bring your hands onto your legs and take a bow forward and halfway or a third of the way towards the floor. Keep soft behind your knees so there's not a radical stretch there. And then to deepen the groins like you did for the forward bends and for the back bends too, move your inner thighs towards the wall And then reach behind you and draw your buttocks up the wall a little bit. Walk the buttocks up the wall. And then take as much of a forward bend as it feels good for your spine at this moment. And maybe that's just dropping forward completely. And last of all, and always a good thing to consider, draw the abdominal wall up into the body. So bringing some tone and containment from the top of your pubic bone to your navel, lifting up without impeding your breathing. Relax your shoulders. Relax the back of your neck. Let your head hang. Now you can use the wall for your legs up the wall position, or if you prefer, you have your legs onto a chair, lying in front of a chair with your legs up. So bend your knees, come up out of Uttanasana, and you may want to be supported with a bolster underneath your hips, or just buttocks on the floor. If you are using a bolster, be sure and leave a space, a 4-finger space between the wall and the edge of your bolster. But if you're just bringing your buttocks to the wall without any support, then move in as close as you can. Well, either position, you're moving in as close as you can. So take your time to get there, either using the chair or the bolster, or just buttocks to the wall. But once you get there, then make a few wriggling adjustments so that you feel like you're lying in as much of a straight line as you can. So that would mean that your head, your shoulders, the pelvis, and the legs are all in one continuous straight line. And a way that you might notice that is whether your buttocks rest evenly on the floor or on the prop. And then once you've done that, then it's time to settle in for a few minutes. So we'll be here for about 5 minutes. And as you've gotten into position, if you haven't done it yet, then release your shoulders back from your neck. Release any tight garments around your top chest or your front neck. And then find your optimum position for your arms. So not settling for less. Your arms might be in goalpost position. Your hands might be on your ribs. Or just arms out to the side like Shavasana. The reason that we do this pose is to create inversion that allows for the fluids in the body to work in reverse to the way they normally do when we're standing or even sitting. There's a kind of draining action from your feet through your legs, through your hips, towards your chest. Allow the senses to become quieter. Eyes soft. The gaze downwards as though past the cheekbones. And the gaze resting on the center chest, on the heart center. Observe your breathing without changing it. Take a moment to notice whether you've drifted a little bit in the pleasantness of the pose, and if so, bring your attention back fully onto your body. In anticipation of moving, but just take it quietly. To release from the pose, you can simply bend your legs, lower down your buttocks off the bolster or slightly away from the wall. And then stay there for several more rounds of breathing with your legs bent and resting onto the floor or the bolster in Trikanasana or cross-legged position. And absorbing the salutary effects of having paused for that quiet time. And then let's go just one stage more before coming up. So roll over onto one side and curl over into a little fetal position. Your arms may be wrapped around you, knees bent. And then continue to roll over to that side and help yourself up to kneeling position, seated kneeling or cross-legged position to complete our session. In our traditional way. So take a moment joining your hands in front of your chest. Maybe a feeling of appreciation or gratitude for the practice, what it offers to us in terms of our all-over health, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, but also in the way that it joins us together as a community that comes together to practice. And we say namaste. Thank you.